Então, muito boa tarde, muito bem-vindos e bem-vindas à Circulo MIT Valongo. Vamos começar então a primeira conversa entre artistas que fazem parte da primeira semana de espetáculos daqui da Circulo MIT Valongo. Antes de começarmos, tenho que falar sobre todos os apoios e todos os patrocínios que nós temos para a Circulo MIT Valongo. É uma organização da Câmara Municipal de Valongo e da Companhia Teatro, Cabeças no Ar e Pés na Terra. Então temos apoios da DG Artes, concorremos a um apoio da DG Artes e tivemos a hipótese de ter uma programação muito mais alargada e que foi ótimo para nós. Temos o apoio da Xarão, que temos aqui as bebidas à nossa frente, portanto nós chamamos Xarão de honra, que temos aqui, que vamos alimentando sempre o nosso espírito e alimentando o nosso corpo através das bebidas da Xarão. Temos também o Arte Imagem, que nos apoia em todo o material técnico que nós precisamos para montar os espetáculos. A Be-Water, que a água também é necessária. A Operação Nariz Vermelho, que nos ajudou também na divulgação. E a Arte em J, que é a escola da Jobra, que tivemos várias alunas, todas meninas, que tiveram a trabalhar connosco durante todo o festival. E que foi excelente terem contacto com companhias estrangeiras e que foi muito bom para nós também tê-las aqui, que é sempre uma energia muito boa ter os próximos artistas e as próximas artistas a trabalharem connosco. Uma salva de palmas. Muito bom. Muito obrigado pelo trabalho, que foi incrível. Eu sei, esta ideia começou de tê-las aqui porque eu realmente também comecei em festivais de teatro a trabalhar como voluntário e a ajudar em tudo que era necessário e começar a perceber como é que os artistas faziam e como é que não faziam. Portanto, achei que era muito interessante tê-los aqui e espero que tenham gostado e que voltem para ver o resto do festival. Creio que será isso. Vou passar a palavra ao Jorge para começar então a conversa sobre hoje.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll be doing this conversation in English, even though not all of you are English speakers, but I think English can be here the common language. To start with, for those of you who did not have the opportunity to see the shows so far, maybe I would like to ask each of you to introduce a bit of your company, what you do, and a little bit about the show that you brought. Maybe just some few words to start.
Okay. Hello, our company is named Compagnie Choc Trio. We are from France. And we created the company 30 years ago. It's been a long time. We are performing a speechless show because we want to express with the body and we want to touch the audience with feelings. And it's also a way to travel easily. And the center of our performance are slastic, characters and music. The performance we played here, we created in 2019, called Prélude en bleu majeur. It talks about a character who is in a sort of factory, very boring job and very sad world in black and white, and suddenly something appears, a little blue thing came from a Kandinsky picture, and it brings him in the world of creativity. And it gives him the opportunity to realize that he had everything to create, but he just needed the little sting to get it. That's it.
Hi, my name is Alan, and I run an organisation in Glasgow in Scotland called Surge, who are responsible for developing outdoor arts, physical theatre and circus across Scotland. We run residencies, we run a festival, we have bursary projects, but part of our work, which is specific to this festival, is we have a part of our company called TechBox, which was created a few years ago in order to look at where technology and outdoor performance specifically largely intersect, because we're interested in it largely. And so we've been doing a number of experiments over the last few years, and the show we brought here, the sort of installation we brought here is is an experiment in AI in which there's a little slightly annoying robot that's quite grumpy, who is there to entertain the queue before people go into the installation, who sort of explains a little bit about what the installation is about, but largely just sort of abuses you and tells you to shut up a lot. And that is powered by AI, so you can actually have a conversation with it. And then when you go into the installation, it is a way of experimenting so that you get an idea of how AI might function. So you design a little scene with some physical models, which is then put through. You go, and then you move on to a green screen with 3 or 4 people, and the background that you've created on the model and the people in the thing are then combined through AI to generate scenes. So you can become a watermelon or a fish or a spaceman or skeletons. There were quite a few of this afternoon. And it was just an experiment to see if people were actually interested, because a lot of people seem to be quite frightened of AI. And it seems that people are quite interested, so that's nice.
My name is Althea. I work with Sam. I'm a lead artist, director, and a performer. My work's quite interdisciplinary, so what I did today was largely based in dance and physical theatre, but I also do text-based work, and I make work with communities in schools and hospitals as well. And so in that way, our practice is really varying, but I suppose the things we do together look at the intersection of performance and technology, with a particular look at how that can be immersive or exciting or new for audiences. So I prefer not to make work where the technology feels quite incomprehensible to audiences. I like to use technology in a way where maybe, so in the case of Hover, the remit for us was technology as puppet. And we went through this big process of how do we fly the drone not just as a drone, but as a puppet. And because I have those skills as a theatre maker, something that we went through was teaching Sam, like, okay, if you have a puppet, you keep it alive, and here's the ways that you do that. Yeah, and we also make work for VR as well.
Yeah, just to like hop off that, I'm Sam, I work with Althea. We did our show, Hover, today, which is a choreographed show between a drone and a dancer or performer or whatever you want, words you want to use for that. And I came into this quite like with a very open mind. And I think that's something that we both really enjoy about working with tech and film and theatre and all this stuff kind of in tandem, is like everything's an experiment. Like we didn't know what was actually possible to do with our show, like our drone and our, like how would it actually, like you said, like how would we puppet it properly? But even then, how would we change its like normal use into something to make it more magical and more kind of like a character in itself? So yeah.
I really need to mention the other groups that were here in this week. It was Company Holoke that made shows with holograms. They had a show with holograms just for 15 people at a time, a very short show, and pinball machines with holograms that put it to the next level. It was very, very good. And Chiriquituela Theatre, they presented Laika. They didn't have video as everyone else or image constructed by computer or anything. It was a very manual. Is the step back of the video. It was the early video, if you want, moving image without, over the projector. It was the other show that I really liked it.
Okay, thank you for the introduction round. Maybe starting off with the theme, not only for this year's edition of the festival, but also the theme for this conversation. The overarching theme for the festival is the onírico, so the world of dreams, and specifically the topic for this conversation proposed by Cabeças no Ar, Hugo as the director, is the narrative versus technique. So would like to understand a bit what was the underlying idea of bringing these two topics, which you know, the way that it is put seems like they are opposing each other when you see narrative verses, but no, just wanted to understand a bit what was the idea of bringing this specific topic about the world of dreams.
When I started to think about the festival, I had to be very quick about the programming because I wanted to have a project for DG Arts that we are supported by DG Arts. So I wanted a festival that was combining all the shows in one idea. And I was thinking about our search not search, but our search in our company, Cabeças no Ar e Pés na Terra. And our search is more and more leading to putting video on our shows. And I thought, why not having all the shows with video? What kind of video? How can they put video on the shows? So I started looking in my mind shows that I'd really like to see that I already seen it with video on the set, and then I started searching other shows that might be good for us to see. This was really solitary programming. I was by myself just searching for what I really like to see again and what I really wanted to show everyone in Valongo. A very good show. It's like my party to all of them. It's the best. I want the best things here to show everyone. And then I remember Alan, that was my teacher 25 years ago. He was running a festival in Scotland. So I've read something about TechBox, so I searched it. So I just found really cool videos and photographs of such TechBox, and then that's one. That's good. Okay. So I remember Laika, the show Laika. I have seen it, and El Pozo de Mil Demónios is going to be next week. That El Pozo de Mil Demónios was a show that I want to steal things from him. When I saw it, I was, this is so good. I want to do this show. So there's some things in the show that I hope people will come to see it. I really try to do something more or less like they do, and I get in contact with them, and I could afford the show, because at the end is always money, if you can buy it or not. I could buy it, so it's gonna be here. Choc Trio, I didn't know Choc Trio, so I searched the internet. In the beginning of it was I was just searching video and theater, and there's something about politics that Valongo is germinated with Trelazé, and they were in Trelazé doing the show, and when I saw it, that's it. That's another part of the video. They just construct paintings with video, and this is so good because it's another part of the video is video mapping and transforming paintings into video. That's it. Okay, I got in touch. Very good to have you here. Then I talked to Alan if there was a show about video and everything. He told me about Althea. Okay, that's it. The drone is very good, direct video and everything for the show. So all the shows had to have this particular vision. What is this about having video on the show? Why they crossing? What makes them cross with each other? It's like God is watching you. It's a direct video. It's the painting transforming, the image moving in. It's very good to see all the search the very different groups make about introducing video, and then we want to steal from everyone. We have to pick up everything, give to the audience, and then the audience will say, "Make it better now for us." It's I think when we get this kind of good things in here, the public will push us to do better things and better things. It's a little difficult, but we have to steal and make it better and better. So it's our dream. So the onírico is that the video in the scene is our imaginary world that we can create, more or less.
Then directing the next question maybe to the groups, we've seen from your description that technology has an importance in the work that you do. What I would like to then ask is, how do you create your work considering also the narrative? What comes first? Does the technology come to support the narrative, or does the idea of wanting to experiment with any type of technology is the trigger, and then the narrative comes in to give like support to this willingness to try something new from a technology perspective?
So in our company, the character is central because slastic is the way of the character move. So we create the story for the character, sometimes quite complicated story for people who doesn't speak, and then we create. Well, we write the short story, then we go on stage, and the character are going to try to explain, to perform. To perform the story. And the other point important is that we use tools to tell the story. One of the main tools is music, because all our interpreters are musicians. So music is very important. And afterwards, we use a lot of tools like juggling, mime, acrobacy when we were younger. Not anymore. And afterwards, each show has its own specific tool. And for example, the last show we made, we had a surround sound system for the audience to imagine what was in the character's brain when he was fear of noise in the night. And for this show, Kandinsky, we first wanted to use materials like painting, paper, cart, everything. And we turned around this during several months, and we couldn't find a way to express Kandinsky art better than him. It's impossible. It's not possible. So the idea of video came and went away, came and went away, came and went away, because it was the first time we used video. So it came strongly, and I said, well, I have to find somebody who is able to give me the video tool I want, which is creating during the performance, make the painting being alive. The video is a tool for the story, and is not in the front, but it's using. And then we called a lot of video men, and well, it was not. No, it was not the one. And we met Christophe. I explained him. I say, well, I would like, like a little blue ball that went out of the painting and brings Mr. Maurice, Monsieur Maurice, the character, into Kandinsky world. And he said, well, if you want, we can make a lab in January. We try some things and let's see if it's okay. Well, so we were on stage. No, it was not on stage. It was in our village. There is no stage in our village. We were in this room, and we were talking with Claude and Gilles, the man who makes the music and the sound system in our company. And Christophe tell me, hey, Priscille, come, let's try something. Take the mouse. Okay. And I took the mouse, and it was the blue ball moving. And it was the blue ball growing and being smaller. And, well, I said, okay, let's go. And, well, that's it. So in our show, the story comes first, and the way we tell the story comes after. And the technology is one of the tools, but maybe next show, we are old, but not so. Maybe the next will be without any technology. I don't know.
So TechBox, well, Surge is a different matter as a whole, but TechBox is specifically set up to experiment. So we work very much from the technology outwards. But the initial interest is due to, well, personal interest, but that aside, it's to do with the fact that I feel, and Surge feels as an organisation, that if one ignores technology, you'll become irrelevant and your audience will literally die. So most industries, if you take the music industry, for example, has been integrating technology into its stuff forever, and is way ahead, and theatre is, in some ways, fearful, I find. But also, the other thing about it that's interesting is, so a lot of the work that Surge does is outdoor arts work and art in public space. And the internet is another public space which we want to invade in the same way as we invade the streets and reimagine the space, because like the streets, the internet and the public space that is there is being eroded by capitalism and money and blah, blah, people buying it. And so one needs to reimagine public space for it to remain interesting and exciting for people to use. And also, there's things that technology does that humans can't. Fly, for example. I mean, in an aeroplane, but I mean, you know what I mean? That is also technology. So what we've been doing in TechBox, but the problem with technology largely in terms of using it for collective experience, which is what outdoor arts and theatre is that because it's a commercially designed thing, a lot of the stuff that is designed to do technology is designed in such a way that it's for one person, so you can sell as many units as possible. And so it's actually sort of anti-collective, even though on the internet, when people are playing computer games and there's 2 million people playing at the same time, that's amazing. But it's still one person in their bedroom. So it's the crossover between collective experience and then trying to experiment. And what TechBox is doing is trying to experiment. In some ways, we're messing around with things that exist to try and how can you hack them sometimes, or how can you sort of abuse them so they're no longer what they were intended for, which was to sell lots of units. So then we do some experiments and we find, oh right, we can do that, and then we make a show out of that. So the one we did this year, which we were quite pleased with, which hopefully we did an experiment with this year, which hopefully we'll do next year. It's called Deliver Art. So using VR goggles, that's really difficult to do stuff with VR goggles because you're inside something and then the rest of the audience. So in outdoor art, often you have somebody who's engaged with the person who's performing, and then the other audience watching that. So quite often, and so with this one, it's like a take on Deliveroo or Uber Eats, and it was like immediately accessible art that will be delivered to wherever you are on a scooter with a Deliveroo bag. And then when you ordered it on a web app, and then the delivery driver, who was very grumpy, it's a bit of a theme, arrived. But most delivery drivers are not very happy because they're underpaid. And so they give you they take the big box off the back and then put it on your head, and it's got VR goggles inside it. And that art experience was you being a piece of art in an art gallery, which eventually you were vandalised by an art terrorist. So that worked quite well because it was an interesting experience for the person wearing it, and it's also quite interesting to see someone with a Deliveroo bag on their head in the middle of the street. And so, but that came out of it's just trying things out. So we're always trying things out. We have a quarterly event in which people come and present work that they're trying, so that we're getting lots of people who are interested in mixing digital technologies and physical performance. And so connecting people up, and so we're learning all the time, trying to learn outwards from the technology. That's where we're at.
So I guess even when I'm making work without technology, I don't start with story. I start with maybe like a question or a politic or a feeling that I want to elicit in an audience. And then I'll find the right material, be that technological or not, to explore that. So at the time that we were commissioned to do the development for Hover, everything had just kicked off with Palestine, and it hadn't quite yet, but I was interested in like technology of war and surveillance. I grew up in San Francisco, so where all of the horrible technology in the world kind of was birthed. And I was also birthed there, and like have really intense memories of seeing the first billboards of like touch screen phones and things like that. So I think when I proposed to make work with a drone, I wanted to explore our kind of visceral or instant reactions to drones, because actually it was 3 years ago, and at the time our relationship to those things were different, and now we're much more comfortable with all sorts of technology. But even 2 years ago, you know, you see a drone or you hear one or you think about one being around and it's uncomfortable, and I kind of wanted to bring that into this space, because at the end of the day, in this space, it's just a flying camera. So what is it that makes us feel uncomfortable about that? And what kind of politics does that conjure? And then at the time, when everything with Palestine and Gaza got worse, I didn't feel that I was the appropriate body to be kind of like subjugated in a piece of work about that. And so we stepped away from interrogating that directly into more of a material exploration of how can we use a drone in unconventional ways, which is this version of the work. But we also have a version that we're developing that now we've kind of gone back to looking at the politics of surveillance, the politics of aerial warfare, because drones are being used in really horrible ways, and we want to be tactful about that. So I would say we shape the story by discovering what we can do with the technology and what kind of feelings we can create and moments we can create. So it's not like we sat down and we wrote like a play where you can probably tell where I come out and then we have this interaction, but then this bit's nice and this bit isn't. We kind of just explored like two performers, basically, like two human performers. And then went, okay, that's nice, that's nice, that's nice. How do we arrange it? So it's not technology-led and it's not story-led. I would say it's like more of a musical score, really, or a material exploration of the thing, and then how the politic and the feelings emerge from that.
Yeah, just that is very much the method we came into with this piece of work. And I think in doing it, we found that it's actually quite fun to mess around with technology and find out what it can do, and that can help inform decisions. And I think the next piece of work we worked on after Hover was using VR, and the way we approached Hover was we were kind of like, what can a drone do? What can we do with a drone in a theater space? And then it was like, what can we do with VR in a theater context? Like although I'd say I'm technically proficient, we've taken technologies that we were completely unfamiliar with because they're so new and interesting and weird that like are not generally used in the theater context. Like Alan was saying before, like with the VR in outdoor space is weird because it's like they're quite singular items, and they serve a purpose, and it's like breaking the rules basically. Everything. Yeah. No.
I guess the other thing was the drone to us wasn't a piece of technology. It quite quickly became a performer. But when Sam came in, he was so stressed because he'd never flown a drone, and he was like, I can't make it do a backflip if that's what you want. And I was like, I don't necessarily want that. And he was like, I can't make it do this if that's what you want. And I said, I have absolutely no idea or expectation of what this thing can do. So it's about discovering what it can do and then building around that as you would any kind of human performer. We all have our own typecast, and our little baby drone, who isn't actually evil, we love him, has its own typecast and its own limitations and its own abilities, and we work around it as if it's a performer.
One thing that I really liked in everyone is like we are like kids. We experiment the ball, touching the mouse and the ball moving, and it transformed to that show that we saw. It is incredible, and everything we done with a tech box that transforms every person in a player. They are like in their own play doing that, and the things with the drone that we are not used to see it. So for me, it's very. I always thought about theater like is a play for us and for all the people is sitting down, because if they don't join the play, it's not going to succeed. The fourth wall is really a big fourth wall. So when you use this and we got fun with it and play with it, I think it's more lovably for the people to see the things that they are going to do. One things in this festival that I really liked, when the Oloke had and I saw in Search too, people when I have the goggles and the glasses 3D, and they're just in the air. It's so funny for people that are outside, because they are really playing, they are in it, and we like to see, just as we know is the video, Monsieur Maurice are playing with the video, but we believe it, but we are, that's so good to see, that's so fun. And Search too, and I saw people with a box, the Deliver Art box in the streets, and just seeing rotating in the street with a orange box, of course. It was very, very funny, a square big head in the middle of the street. It was very, very funny. So it's good. Okay.
And just talking about technology, it's being part of everyone's lives nowadays, right? So you kind of expect to have technology everywhere, even in your clothes or in your cell phones, of course. And we're talking about where human meets then technology, talking about singularity, right? When the two kind of meet. So do you think that this is also the natural path, that technology is more and more used in the theater to still make it relevant? Because it may not only be an expectation from the audience, but maybe in the future, and especially with the new generations already being born within technology, that this will be an expectation from them so that it continues to be relevant?
For me, I'm not sure. I saw wonderful performances nowadays without any technology, just acting and enjoying the text or the performance of the performer. I think it has to be used when it's necessary, but it doesn't has to be used. In our performance, Prélude en bleu majeur, something we wanted to tell the young people who would see the show is the important part is the end of the show, when the character discovers he has everything, he had real balls in his room, he has paper to draw, he has a picture of Kandinsky in his room. He didn't knew that. I think technology is good, but we are humans, and we are actors or dancers or musicians. Music is a bit specific because it's difficult to play music without technique, but well, I think we have to stay human. That's my idea, maybe because I'm old.
So, I think, yes, it's absolutely essential that all arts, it doesn't mean that all art has to have technology in it, but all art forms need to embrace technology, because otherwise it will disappear. But also, it's not just that. I mean, in terms of, I have a 21-year-old son who spends a third of his life on the internet, and he has a really good time. Like, half his mates live in Sweden. It's brilliant, and he's been to visit them, and it's really nice. It's a lot better than a fucking pen pal that I had when I was 12. Anyway, but I think the thing is like artists, sort of the cultural world is, its job is to sort of provide questions and to undermine things and to look at them, and so technology is so vast, as you pointed out, and it's so much part of our lives. If the cultural world ignores it, then it's ignoring one of the major things that's going on. And so it's up to us to integrate it and incorporate it and undermine it and get people to question it all the time. Otherwise we go, no, that's not happening, that's over there, that's nothing to do with us. And I think that's a really dangerous path to tread on, and also sort of slightly ignorant one. But it's not to say that all art needs technology in it. It's, it's just, people like someone with a guitar in the corner of the pub singing a song. Those things are not under threat because of technology. One could argue that some of our life is under threat because of the way technology is being promoted through capitalism. However, that's why it needs to be embraced and messed with. Let's be mischievous. There's a company called Mischief Labar. They don't exist anymore. Outdoor company, and their mission statement was to gently warp the underlay of the fabric of society. And I think that's just generally true. And so, that's why I think embracing technology is vital.
The other day we were talking and Alan said you're very anti-technology for an artist who works with technology. And I said, this is true. I think I'm very tentative of various forms of technology, maybe because I am a young adult I'm probably the last generation who lived before that was completely all-encompassing. And so half of my life was kind of fun internet, pre-smartphone, and then the other half of my life was smartphone, and I have felt the way that it has affected me and that I feel overwhelmed by it when I go out into the world. And so I'm very careful about the ways I work with technology. I try to be considerate about the ethics of the technology that I work with. So there are technologies that we don't work with. And when we do work with technologies, we kind of look at who manufactures those technologies. We can't always get it right, or sometimes when we do start working with it, it's okay, and then a couple of years later, they sign their lives away to something evil. And I think that's a really hard part of working with technology, is that if you want to have that piece of kit in your touring show for 5 years, it might become affiliated with different people over that time. And I find that like a really difficult question about when do you pull a piece of technology out of a work based off of the kind of ethical alignment of the maker of that technology. I don't really care about the kids being engaged, honestly. I think that they're going to be so engaged in technology that actually the most exciting thing for them to see is going to be something like a just proper puppet show. I think for me, it's about like how people who aren't so clued in to how technology works are getting left behind by a lot of these things that are coming in now. And so we try to make work where anyone experiencing it can be affected by it and can understand it and can deal with those feelings. And so my favorite reactions to this show have been from older people who are just horrified that this is kind of the way that the world works now. And that's kind of the quite antagonistic version. But in our other piece of work, we use VR, we use surround sound, we use wind and heat light. And what I really love about it is those technologies integrate so well that older audience members or audience members who have less of an experience of technology, they don't feel like they're having this like techno experience. They kind of just feel like they're being immersed in something. And one of our rules for the VR work we made was that nothing would look like it was digitally generated. So we use the drone to film, so it's real film, and we use animation to create the 3D objects. And so it would be quite aesthetically familiar to someone who's never done VR but has enjoyed film. And all the sensations are quite aesthetically familiar. And so we didn't want that experience to be like scary or overwhelming. So I guess for me, but I'm a bit stubborn, I wouldn't put technology in a piece of work in order to stay relevant, but maybe that means I won't stay relevant.
Just in terms of older people, it's interesting with that because COVID completely changed the world for older people because they, like my mother, for example, and you know this is not, I'd have to tell her how to turn her phone off until 2020, and now she's ringing me up going, "Have you got this app on your phone? You need to put that app on your phone because it's really." And so I think it's really nice now that the older generation are sort of involved. But the thing I was saying earlier. The second side of that is about the way things are constructed. And so one of the things that's quite difficult, and it's, you're talking about using real film and stuff, is that like all young people in Europe can use a PlayStation.
Except for me.
Except for you. But you're not from Europe. Can use a PlayStation, you know, and it's like that, but like, beyond my age, nobody can, and it's like so. And so, if everything's attached to that, how do you get past that? And that's what's really tricky, because you don't want things where people have to learn. It's like live theatre becomes live theatre or life experience, or installations become very dull if you have to have a 25-minute explanation about how something works. And this person here, because they're 23, is having a much better time because they can operate a PlayStation, and this person's having a shit time because they're just looking at the buttons. So I think there's a real issue around that, but it is nice that the older generation are really accepting, or the older generations are accepting technology much more because it's probably the only decent outcome out of COVID.
But I think something that we thought about, less so with this show, but more so with some of the other work we've done, is like, as Alan said, like accessibility. So like making technology like less scary, like less frightening to use. Like I know that if I told my grandma, like, I'm going to put this like headset on you and you're going to become a bird and it's going to be very embodied and you're going to love it, she would tell me to throw it away. But what we've tried to do is make those experiences that kind of can work for any person. So like Alan said, it's like, oh, certain people can't use PlayStation and stuff like that. We have really tried with some of the work that we've made to make technology seamless in a way that it becomes the same spectacle as going to the theatre, because you don't have to know about the stage hands, the managers, the tech guys up there if you're like just a person going to the theatre for a fun time. So it's like making it seamless and making it really like fun to be a part of. You don't have to think about the way it's made, even though sometimes that's quite interesting in itself. Yeah.
But also, if we could make those experiences without technology, we would. So it's about the essential nature of the thing. So if we could make the bird flight simulator, which is our other piece of work, without that, I think we would do it that way. But yeah, just like, it's very Peter Brooks, like, what is the essential things that you need to communicate what you're trying to communicate? And then we try and reduce from there, so there's no like extra technology around.
Even Peter Brook had a mat on the floor. Yeah, I think what is technology? What is technology? Because when we talk about it, I think it's a artist talk, because the audience doesn't give a because it works or it doesn't work. So we have ancient technology like the ropes in boats that we use on our theater. We stole from the boat people that are with the ropes, and everything comes up. All the technology of the lights that is not candles anymore. So it says lights. So you got the computer now for all the lights. So the drone in the video is the next level and next level. So, but what I think everyone said is what we want to say, and you use it or don't use it. You have a mattress? No, we have a floor, dark floor. We have some cloths, but we are going to say something, and the other is going to hear or not. So in this festival, I really wanted to make a part of all the shows to see how the imagination of every artist leads to something different from the same thing that is video on theater and video in theater. And I don't think the audience left the room and said, the video was great. No, they said the show was great, that had video on it. If it doesn't have video, it would be great too. So this is our oniric part maybe for the audience is the oniric, and for us is how do we use video like this.
I think it's also a question of artistic choice. I mean, the same story or the same like she says, you have an idea and you want to express it on stage. So the same one can be maybe 100 or 1,000 different made with each director or choreographer or musician or performer. And the choice of using or not this kind of technology, from computer music to drones or so, it's really personal. And something I really loved in the Spanish Laika show is their story takes place in the 50s. So they used the 50s technology. And for us, it's, as we say in French, c'est juste. It's just the one they had to. And another thing I loved was the reaction of the kids after the show, who went on stage to the pet. It was so. It was a real emotion for me to see how they. For them, it was a living dog, and it was wonderful.
Okay, thank you very much. I think many other questions could be asked, but we have a limited time. So I'd like to thank for your time and also your opinions, and giving here room also for your work. Yes, tell us a little bit about how your work and also the mindset behind it. So thank you very much.